The following is intended only for mature audiences.
Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's J-Man. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm J-Man, and I'm going to sit here on my old man soapbox and bitch about social media. Now, before I get started, if it sounds a little bit different in my recording, I want you to know that I have moved the operation for the solo episodes to the kitchen upstairs. I'm above ground right now, and there's no cats that are going to knock shit over or meow at me or bother the fuck out of me. It's just me in the kitchen, and behind me a rabbit in a cage that hopefully doesn't start thumping her fucking paw. What I want to talk to you about today is kids and social media. And I don't think I have to say anything beyond social media is harmful for children because we used to get the escape from our bullies back in the day, in the 80s and 90s. Unless they prank called our house, they weren't bothering us outside of school hours. Or on summer vacation, we didn't even see those cunts for 3 months. It was fucking awesome. But now, there's so many different ways that kids reach each other through Snapchat and Discord and TikTok and all these other fucking stupid ways that they choose to bother one another outside school hours. If we could get them away from it, it would be great. But it becomes ever so more increasingly difficult to get them to put those fucking screens down as time goes on. And as a parent myself, who has 2 teenage daughters who cannot keep their fucking nose out of their goddamn phones, and having had to deal with a myriad of issues with bullying and social media bullshit in the last few years, even in the summer months, I would just like to say that this story that broke on March 25th, yes, it's almost been a month, made my heart warm because it felt like social media giants were about to have their big tobacco moment where it was recognized the negative impact they're having on their clients' lives. So, for starters, I would just like to point out that when I say Meta, M-E-T-A, is the company that runs the following social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, Workplace, and Jiffy. Those are all things that they have their hand on. So on March 25th, it was reported that Meta harms children's mental health and safety. In October of 2023, California Attorney General Rob Bonta, along with a bipartisan coalition of 33 attorney generals, sued Meta Platforms. The lawsuit alleged that Meta designed and deployed harmful, addictive features on Instagram and Facebook that negatively impact the mental health and physical health of children and teenagers. Why that's important is they are saying that these platforms basically rope in the kids. The evidence showed that Meta knew their platform was hooking kids and harming their mental health. Instead of fixing the problem, they just kept developing new features to maximize how much time kids spend on the apps. So they want engagement, because engagement means that you're on there, and if you're on there, you see their ads, and if you see their ads, you're more likely to buy the products that are advertising on their app. So it makes sense that they're trying to get you hooked in so they can try to offer you 1,010,000 fucking things to buy with all that money that you don't have thanks to Trump, tariffs, and inflation. As an adult, I can tell you that Facebook is mind-numbingly full of advertisements, and I'm constantly Xing out sponsored posts because it's trying to rope me in. I don't use it much other than keeping in touch with people, but kids that use other Meta platforms besides Facebook, like Instagram, well, there's engagement and messaging and people with sponsored ads. And what it does is, because they've said that social media and the rapid clicking of like TikTok, it feeds your brain and gives you a dopamine response the way drugs do. So it's just eating away at your brain. And these kids have to keep getting a hit. And if they're not on their phones, if they're not on the apps, if they're not engaged, well, then they're not getting that hit. And then you're not seeing the advertisements.
Holy shit!
So James P. Stayer, he's a founder and the CEO of a nonprofit called Common Sense Media, talking about this verdict in the LA court stating that social media companies deliberately design their platforms to keep kids hooked. Consequences to their mental and physical health be damned. And I would say they have reckless abandon for how it negatively affects kids, with interrupting their thought process due to shortening their attention span for the constant reels and TikTok short videos, even with YouTube short forms. They also were named in this in LA. And it keeps them hooked in, and you can't sleep, your attitude's shitty. Unless you're getting your fix, you're like somebody coming down off a crank. You're just crabby and nobody wants to deal with you. Well, because Meta and its other companies attached were not doing anything about it, this is why this lawsuit came about. They wanted to stop these kids from constantly being hooked on these dumb apps, and it's being talked about for the first time ever that maybe we need to put a legal age on when kids can be on social media, like a law, not just the company policy that was 13 for Facebook. It's also that same age for Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok that are the three most popular formats. But they don't have the parental controls in place where you can stop your kid from being on there. Sure, they have YouTube Kids and Instagram Teen accounts, but the point being, they don't want these laws. They would never want you to say, you have to be 16 to be on social media. Oh, what a terrible thing. We give kids that turn into teenagers in middle school a few more years to figure out how to deal with each other before they rot their brains with all this social media connection and attention span shortening, constant doom scrolling, or flipping through videos and shit. If you want me to tell you how bad it can get early on, I got a 6 and an 8-year-old, and they flip through fucking videos on their phone, or they see shit on YouTube to watch some shows, but they'll just jump and jump and jump and jump. And I have to tell them, like, you're not doing that, dude. Put that fucking phone down. It's something their mom bought for them so they can text her and call her from my house. I really can't say shit. But again, all these ages are being engaged, and just like with adults, the apps want you locked in, staring at content, interacting with people. Here's an ad, here's a joke, here's a video, and the algorithm looks at what you like and don't like and what you view and what you see less of, and it feeds you more of that shit. Just like if you go to a buffet and you tell them, I really like barbecue, and then instead of just having like brisket, they bring you 12 different barbecue items to keep you fucking eating. Or conversely, energy drinks or vape. Hey, what flavors do you like? And then you tell them, or they figure it out, or they watch what you're drinking by monitoring your purchases through an app where you scan a fucking receipt from a gas station, and then it tells them, oh, here's what they're drinking the most, so let's market more ads to that. It's all about tailored ad dollars and just keeping them engaged. So back to the lawsuit here. Not only did California sue, but also New Mexico, the Attorney General of that state, Raul Torres, filed in December 2023. This is part of that coalition of attorney generals that all hopped on board of this shit. And Mr. Torres calls this a watershed moment because the jury ruled that Meta violated state consumer protection law for enabling child exploitation on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp and misleading consumers about the platform's safety. So this is going to cost the company $375 million in civil penalties. But instead of paying it out, I'm sure they will fucking appeal it and try to get it thrown out, and they'll lobby with politicians to try to lean into the court to get them to flip the verdict and say, no, we'll find a better way. We'll just put more safety nets in place. But you can't trust them to do it. That'd be as bad as putting the drug cartels in charge of the DEA. But according to the executive director of Watchdog Group Tech Oversight Project, that is Sasha Haworth, Meta's house of cards is beginning to fall. More than 40 state attorney generals now have filed lawsuits against Meta, claiming it's been deliberately designing addictive social media features and it's contributing to the mental health crisis among young people. But I would say it's also contributing to mental health issues with older adults who don't know how to fucking interact or go out and talk to people anymore. But these verdicts were the first such rulings in a wave of an ocean of lawsuits that Meta's facing about how the platforms have become addictive and are affecting young people. Just imagine, you want your kid to go to bed, get a good night's sleep, go to school, and wake up and they're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to fucking learn, but they can't because they stayed up all night dicking around scrolling through TikTok videos. And you didn't notice it because you're a lazy piece of shit who doesn't parent right, and you just sat on the couch dual screening while you half paid attention to something retarded on Netflix. It was probably reality TV bullshit, and then you were scrolling through it yourself. They've got you, they've got your kids.
God damn it.
If they had an age restriction and you had parental controls in place, that's a two-prong attack at trying to keep the kids off of there. But again, they're not going to do that for you. Just like all they're going to do for big tobacco was they slapped the warning label on cigarettes. And then when they got hit with the $11 bajillion lawsuit payout it almost bankrupted them, but they're still fucking selling cigarettes, aren't they? Because they're addictive. They're still fucking selling alcohol, even though there's an epidemic of drunk driving and people dying in those crashes, because it makes money and people are addicted. And your kids are still on all these fucking social media apps because they don't know how to put the phone down and be alone with their thoughts and be bored. So as much as I want this to be like Facebook and Meta Incorporated's reckoning, they're going to find a way to get out of this. I mean, it's a good sign because they had like anecdotal evidence. Like one woman in particular, she's 20 years old, and the court in LA found that Meta and YouTube were to blame for the depression and anxiety of this woman who compulsively used the platforms as a child and awarded her damages of $3 million, 70% of which must be paid by Meta. And then there's more damages for malice and fraud because they're not restricting the content and keeping people off of there like it should. Now, I know there's people that have phones with safeguards in place that'll say, you've been on your screen for 45 minutes. Get off your fat ass, stand up, and walk for 2. They have that with some of these devices. But Facebook doesn't have that. Instagram doesn't have that. As far as I know, TikTok, Snapchat, all of them. They want you on there. They don't care what it does to you. Because even if you die, you've pooped out a couple of rats of your own, and they're going to be hooked on this shit too. So as soon as the parents get addicted and the kids age into the accounts, they're like, oh, you're old enough to have one. Do you want one like me? And then the kid gets one and they fucking friend request their parents, and then they start having friends that age into it too who have the same stupid fucking parental ideas around it. And then kids are just doing this. And Instagram is super popular with celebrities. It's more of like a branding media app than it is for being social. Sure, you can have a personal account and post pictures and chat with people, and there's videos, but what are most of these people doing? Consuming ads as they scroll through their feed, and it's famous people and related to actors and musical acts and bands and just all these people that keep you hooked. And aside from causing depression and anxiety, here's the thing. Instagram itself is very popular with girls. Why? Influencers that tell you, use this makeup, do your hair this way, buy these clothes. Status, status, status. You want to fit in. And when people can't afford that shit, it causes depression. When people are constantly viewing their self-image through a distorted lens because they don't measure up to all these fucking anorexic, fake blonde idiots on here that are like, you need a Yeti cup, and you need this, and wear these shoes, and Givenchy, and all the Louis Vuitton purses, all this crap. It contributes to young girls' body dysmorphia and negative self-image because those apps are full of fucking pretty people. That's what gets the clicks. And for boys, it's the same thing with all these fucking manosphere influencers on there, or looks maxing, which is apparently when you do whatever you can, no matter how harmful it is to your health, to look as pretty as possible. Guys see muscular dudes, tattooed dudes, successful athletes, UFC guys that are jacked out of their mind, and there's been tons of teenage boys, a handful that I've known, that talked about doing steroids or asked about doing steroids because they want that self-image. They want to be jacked. They want to be desired by females. They'll do whatever it takes to get those ladies' attention, just like the ladies want to look a certain way so they can attract a mate. But it's increasingly more and more like they're trying to attract each other because scissor sisters. Anyways, as for Meta's response, this is brilliant. A spokesperson for the company said they disagree with the verdict and is evaluating its legal options. That's according to NPR. Google didn't immediately respond to the verdict, and the reason that they're involved is because of their ownership of YouTube. And you know Google's got no fucking social conscience because they're basically like Skynet at this point. They have cloud storage service, and they have access to all your photos, videos, and everything you don't really sit there and think about that they keep on you, as opposed to you being smart and going to the store and buying a 1 terabyte external hard drive to store your shit on. No, they own part of your data, and then they use it for AI analysis. And then they do that to better tailor their fucking ads towards you. And they want you on YouTube because YouTube makes a shit ton of money with high subscription content people and channels that all the eyes are on them. They advertise in it. It's all become a business. The product is you. They want you to consume as much as possible, and they don't care about kids. Now, if a child is on Instagram and they're scrolling, and they see all these celebrities and all these influencers and the great life they have, and their life sucks, and they end up killing themselves, you could argue that The social media application and its owner are indirectly and directly responsible for that because they provide the forum, and yes, you have signed up for it, but they don't do anything to filter through what is and isn't bullshit, because as long as it generates views and gets your eyes on it, then you're seeing the ads, and then you're buying stuff, hopefully. Or at least they're seeing the traffic, and the algorithm collects your data, and they better focus their ads on you. They don't want to keep you connected with your friends. They don't want to show you what your politically minded Hollywood starlets are thinking. They just want you to stare at that screen and see a couple of fucking quick commercials and then use your very little disposable income to be hooked on it. Now, I got to tell you, if there was a law that went into effect, like I mentioned, minutes ago, and it said you couldn't be on social media until you're 16, that would be great. I would argue 18, because even at 16, you're just too liable to get hooked into all these ad schemes and not realize it because you're naive. And to you, it's just fun. And then there's games you can play, and that just collects data on you. Or there's games that kids can play that are pay for play, and they don't even realize it. Think of how many moms have been like, I gave my kid my phone while I was grocery shopping, and he bought $1,000 worth of Smurf berries in some fucking stupid Smurf game. Yeah, that shit happened. Google it. I don't remember the name. I don't remember the state, but it was within the last 10 years. That is very real. So how can we fix this? As a society, I would say, we move away from social media. We get rid of these platforms, and we get the fuck off the screens. Now, it's too late because they've already got everybody hooked on them and indoctrinated that smartphones are the only way that we can communicate. In fact, they've stopped having traditional websites, and what's everything now? An application that directly links you to who you're trying to contact, and then they monitor every single fucking thing you do, and they take that metadata and they sell it off to third-party investors who then try to sell you more shit, contact you via email, contact you via phone. If these kids were simply only able to call and text, holy Christ, they'd have to have real conversations. They'd have to actually do more than just flip, 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 like a rat hitting a feeder bar to get a food pellet.
What the fuck does that mean?
I mean, we don't let them vote until they're 18. We don't let them drink till they're 21. You can't drive till you're 16. You have to be 18 to serve in the military, 21 to buy cigarettes. Why should we not use this if it's deemed equally as harmful as cigarettes may be to the mind as opposed to the lungs? It all hurts the body and the brain. Eventually, it's going to take you out. So we should also police it the same fucking way. And I don't think $375 million is going to mean much to them. Mark Zuckerberg has a, let's see what his net worth is.
12 seconds later.
He is worth, himself, somewhere in the neighborhood of $230 billion. Just like Elon Musk is like $286 billion. So if he's like, oh, I have to pay $100 million, fucking drop in a bucket to me. I have that in spades. You're going to have to get them in the billions. All these lawsuits are going to have to land. And the best way to do that is state attorney generals working with smaller law firms to formulate class action lawsuits where people that have suffered some of these same fucking addictions to social media, just like idiots on DraftKings are gambling away their life savings knowing that they're never going to win but still playing because they're hooked. Just like booze, just like cigarettes, you got to have class action status so that you can hit them with more stories at once. It's more likely to be one-sided, so they settle. And then as those stack up, they're going to eventually have to be like, dude, there is a tidal wave hitting us, and we are drowning in it, and we should probably do something about it. Now, they're not going to shut down everything because that would stop AI from taking over and the machines becoming sentient and then driving over us and grinding our faces off and killing us. No, what they'll do is come up with some half-ass lame-brain scheme, kind of like what the NBA is doing to combat tanking, is they're making it so that if you purposely tank or you are one of the worst teams, it actually hurts your odds in the draft lottery. But what that means is that you're just going to have an even more fucked up draft lottery. But I digress. Until you do something like break up the monopoly of Meta and fine each company individually into the poorhouse and they have to stop operating, then they won't have the money that they get from the advertisers because there'll be so much negative publicity, they'll have to find another route. They'll get you, but at least they won't be doing it that way. And more importantly, if you put the law in place and the company takes a hit and they back down and kids can't get at it, maybe we can reclaim some of our children's attention spans and they won't be mindless zombies staring at a screen. But you won't notice because odds are you're also a mindless zombie staring at a screen. Interact with the show on Twitter, What Do We Call It? That is What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm J-Man. And that's the end.